Hey there, it's Juju, and it's day 88. And you can see that I'm at church. And usually when I'm at church, I talk about, the gratitude that I feel here and the joy of being in nature. But I think that I would be remiss right now if I didn't talk about the situation with the gentleman from El Salvador who is was deported illegally from the U.S. He had a do not deport order. And I know that they are saying that he was a member of, a violent criminal gang. And so the proof of that is that the government has, released, because first they admitted they made an error, and then they said, oops, we can't get him back, even though we're paying millions of dollars to El Salvador to host these people that we are deporting without due process. And so, little piece of abalone from the abalone gods. So the evidence that I have seen is that he was in a parking lot wearing a hoodie and a Chicago Bulls baseball cap. Now, I am not a sports person at all. I don't know anything about sports, but it does seem like, wearing a baseball cap, if you're Hispanic, you can't wear a baseball cap without being, then you are a gang member. Whether this gang wears that cap or not, that's like saying if you're Hispanic and you're wearing a red shirt, then you must be in a gang. Or if you're wearing a blue shirt, that's not what this country is based on. And the fact that he was just taken without due process. And I have problems with our judicial system. I call it our criminal legal system rather than our criminal justice system. But I do believe, even though it may not always come out fairly, as I have seen, but we at least need to have due process, which is if you suspect this person is a gang member, and actually that he has you cannot deport this person, court order, that he should not be deported. And I know that many people think, they're criminal gang members, and so it doesn't matter. They're not human. It's great that we've got this horrible prison in El Salvador, that we should be proud of associating and supporting El Salvador with their history of human rights, which, as we know, ties back to U.S. involvement. But I understand that even if he is guilty, we believe in the rule of law. And certainly I would think the people on the conservative side would have, because it starts, if they can start just grabbing people off of the street with no due process and send them, and the current president has even said, well, I wish that we could do this to our people, to citizens. I spent a lot of time in prison. I know that actually our prisons, at least the ones that the one that I'm in most of the time, Soledad Prison, volunteering, I should say, so that I'm not grabbed and taken off to El Salvador. Why would we be proud of putting a prison in a country that has such a history of, human rights, and we know that, people's human rights aren't being followed there. The conditions are horrible in this prison, and we know it, and we as Americans are supposed to feel good about that. And so, for me, there's a lot of issues around this. Part of it starts, they come for the criminals, and then the next thing you know, they're going to come for the people wearing tutus. Because if you're wearing a tutu, you must be a progressive liberal. Well, let me tell you, Juju of the Tutu tribe, I've had men in tutus from over 20 countries. Not all of them. I wouldn't make any assumptions about that. But, when you just want to judge things on appearances, but I think the bigger issue is, where is our compassion? Where is our empathy? And especially for my fellow citizens and non-citizens who are Christians, what would Jesus do in this kind of situation? I mean, it just is absurd how cruel we have become. And the more time that I volunteer in the prisons, the less I support the idea that we want to be sending people to other prisons that are worse. So I believe in second chances. I believe in people being able to change. And even if they aren't, I think everybody has human rights. And in my America, I would want them to have those legal rights. So this is kind of all over the place, because I could talk for another 15 minutes about this, but I will leave it there. So this is Juju, unscripted, unedited, obviously, at church. I like to give you a few moments. So after this, I am going to not be thinking about politics anymore. I'm going to be spreading good energy, loving and compassion in the world. Going to meditate for an hour. Going to just enjoy being at church. So lead with love.